Hey folks, welcome to the channel. This is another episode in my hammock tips from the trail. This weekend I am family camping in Crested Butte at the OB Joyful Campground, and I brought with me my Tentsile Stingray hammock, and I'm going to show it to you and how it works. Let's get to it. It has one center pole that fits into this little cap here and runs the length of the hammock tent, and then connects down into that one. So that lifts the screen up, and then there's one bar here that is like the spreader bar that spreads the mesh out above your head. One of the different things about this hammock tent is that it has 3 points of connection. So here is one here at the tail end, and then you have 2 on that. So that makes it fairly tricky for setting up, because you have to have 3 trees, and they have to be 3 trees pretty much in the right position. Otherwise, if you don't, then some of the sides are going to sag down, and it won't be taut and comfortable. So that's really one of the biggest differences with this setup. Also, you'll see that this is a ratchet. So what you have to do is, I've looped it around the tree, and then I have ratcheted that thing as tight as I could, because this has to be super, super tight in order for this to work. Just you pulling it around and tightening it with regular like hammock straps is not going to work. You have to have a ratchet. So there are ratchets on all 3 points to hang the hammock. So the issue with that is it's heavy. This hammock tent weighs 7 to 8 pounds. That's why you'll never see me take it on a backpacking trip. I did one time. I was in Grandfather Mountain, and I was just hiking in for the day, and I was gonna hike in where I was gonna camp that night, and then hike around the next 2 days and stay in the same area. So I wanted to try it out, and I mean, it works great. It is extremely comfortable, but at 7 to 8 pounds, that is just too heavy. And these straps are ones that are smaller than that actually come with the hammock. But again, you need the ratchet in order to make it super, super tight. So you can see they say it is a 2-person tent. Not too sure about that. Nate and I stayed in here when when he was probably 8 or 9 years old, and we put pads in here, and that worked out okay. But it has 2 doors, one on each side. Yeah. And so our heads, or my head, is down there, and then the feet come slide down into here. So my pad will fit right into here, and then I'll put any type of a gear backpack that I have in the corners. And so this is, like I said, it's a hammock tent. There's no underquilt for this. They may make one, I don't know. I mean, again, this is like 8, 9 years old. They may make an underquilt, but for me, like I said, I have a sleeping pad that I will put in this. And therefore, if I have a sleeping pad, I either use my Zen Bivy system, which is my favorite, or I will use a sleeping bag, because you need something underneath to keep you warm. All right, let's see if I can get in this while holding a camera. I pitched a little too tight or too high. So yeah, when I pitched it, it's probably up to my chest, and it probably needs to be more around my waist, or however you want to sit in it, because it doesn't flex much lower than this because it is so taut. It's not going to drop much further down. So I'm 6 foot, and I pitched a little too high where I'm kind of on my tiptoes getting up, but it's fine. So let's see here. This is what I will lay in like this. So you can see that mesh is kind of still up on my head. It's not a lot of room. I can sit up in it a little bit like a tent. So that's nice when trying to, change clothes or just unwind for the evening with all my gear. And that's what I really like about this. I like a tent, so I can sit up in it. I can put my gear back here, or I can put my backpack there, whatever I need to do. And I have plenty of room. Again, I'm 6 foot, and this is plenty for me. I put my sleeping pad on there, and yeah, that'll be fine. So there aren't many features to this hammock tent. Like there aren't a lot of pockets, for like storage and stuff. It really is. I do have a little, a little light here, which I like getting into my tent. But really, that's kind of it. It's really a no frills kind of a hammock tent. But it is very super comfortable. Another thing I like about this hammock tent is that if it rains, you have a little bit of protection underneath if you pitch it high enough. So you can have a nice little tarp or shelter during the rain as well. All right, so now let's get some gear in here. All right. This is my X-Ped sleeping pad. My wife and my daughter are using my 2 Zen bivvies, so that's why I brought out the X-Ped. Very warm pad, pretty comfortable. And then I have a sleeping bag, the Outdoor Adventure mountaintop sleeping bag. So that goes in there. So the sleeping bag prevents the cold drafts at my shoulders and my neck. And I have my Nemo pillow. That's awesome. Got that nice insulated little top there. It's just a bag of clothes I have for camping. So I'll throw that in one side. And then I just have my good old day hiking backpack, which I will put on the other side. And that's pretty much it. So you can see I have a pretty good room here. Again, my pad doesn't quite go all the way to the end, and I have my headroom. I've got plenty of space for my gear on both sides, and that works out really well. So as I was, packing up for this trip, it was just in my bin. I was like, oh, I have not used this hammock tent in such a long time. It really is a cool tent. I think it is kind of gimmicky. I would never take it backpacking. It weighs way too much, but it is comfortable. I mean, it is a tent hanging from the hanging from trees, and it really is great. So it's great for car camping like we're doing now, where weight is not an issue, and it's a fun little shelter to have. Or like I said, even if I am on a backpacking trip and I know I'm going to have some really good trees that I could hang this from, and I'm not hiking in too far, like maybe a few miles, then I might take this, because the other really consideration are the trees and finding that 3 points of connection, because again, it has to be lined up fairly accurately, or this will just kind of, that'll just kind of flop. Right now it's pretty taut, and that's the way it needs to be. in order for it to hold you up there properly. Otherwise, it's not going to be comfortable at all. So that's the real issue, is finding the right set of 3 trees that you have to anchor in, almost like a little triangle. Otherwise, it's not going to do well at all. So this is a 2-wall tent, which means that it has a rain fly that needs to cover it. I'd left the other 2 already secured just for the purposes of this video, but you'll see me connected here on the front. Just line that up in the middle. Make sure that's secure. Covers that on all 4 sides, 3 sides. All right, that's the tarp. So it has these little bungee, and I just kind of rigged it here a little bit. Again, I haven't set up in a while, but I want to make sure that it's covering over the end of my tent. You can secure these down if you want for a tighter pitch. But again, it has these little bungees on here, and I just secured it around there. But that is the tarp for the Flight Plus. Well, that's going to do it for this video. That is the Tentsile Flight Plus, and it is a great little shelter. It's fun to bring different types of, hammock type of, setups that I have when I'm car camping, and weight doesn't really matter. Sometimes I'll bring my bridge banya hammock, but I saw this and I said, you know what, this will be fun. And it is a comfortable tent, so I really do enjoy it. Well, it's time for me to sign off from the OB Joyful Campground. Just a side note, if you ever get out to Crested Butte, this is a beautiful campground, and we have absolutely loved it. But thanks for watching. See you on the next video.